Google Calendar is one of the most important tools in Google Suite. Being able to efficiently and effectively use this application in tandem with other Google Suite applications such as Docs, Sheets, and Slides will help us organize our work better. In this video, we're covering the basic features of Google Calendar to help you get started setting up your own calendar system. The first thing we have to do is to go to Google Calendar. This can be done by searching for it in your local search engine or in Google, or by typing out the webpage for the application, which is accessible at calendar.google.com. Once we have reached their homepage for the Google Calendar, assuming that you have logged into your account, we are faced with a comprehensive and complex interface. So let's first dissect this interface one by one. On the left-hand side, we're going to see a condensed and mini version of the calendar we are in. This gives us a bird's eye view of our calendar, which is divided by month. We can go from one month to the next by clicking on these arrows. Below the mini calendar, we can see the different calendars we have made. Later on, we're going to be discussing the process of making multiple calendars. But for now, it is important to remember that checking or unchecking these calendars allows us to actually include them or remove them from the actual calendar. By unchecking the blue calendar, we can see that all the blue events on the calendar are removed. Checking this will bring these events back. It is also important to note that these calendars are color-coded, which allows us to see the various events at one glance, saving time and also effectively organizes our calendars. On the upper right side of our screen, we're going to see a drop-down menu, which says month, day, year, and so on. So this is how we view our calendars. If we want to view our calendars within a span of a week, we click the week button from the menu. Likewise, if we wanted to look at our schedule for the day, we click the day button to see a full day breakdown of our schedule, which not only includes the date but also the time we set these events. Other views are available for us to select, such as the schedule view, which showcases a bulleted version of our events, and the 4-day view, although the most used options are the year, month, and day views. If we want to look for a specific event among the numerous events we have set, we don't have to manually look for it in our calendar. Google Calendar has a search function which allows us to search for a specific event we had in mind. Furthermore, filters such as what to look for, where to look for, who are the guests invited, when this event is happening, are available for us to help us specify our search. Now that we have discussed the interface of the application, let us get to the most important feature of Google Calendar: how to add events. The first thing that we do is to find the specific date we have in mind. After finding the date, double-click this date to have a pop-up menu appear. Take note that you can single-click this day to have a considerably smaller menu appear, although double-clicking allows you to have more options and details in defining and describing your event. Single-clicking is only recommended for relatively quicker to set up events. Moving forward, in the pop-up menu, after double-clicking, we can have the option to edit a variety of factors regarding our desired event. The first thing we do generally is to name the event. Afterwards, set the time for the event. Will it happen all day on the specific date? Or will it only happen from 9 a.m. to noon? These are the questions that we can answer by checking or unchecking the all day button. Furthermore, does this event repeat every week, every month, or does it repeat every year? Or do you want to customize when this event will repeat once again? We can edit this by clicking on the Does Not Repeat button and editing depending on what we prefer. We can add a custom schedule wherein a pop-up menu will appear and you will decide whether you want this event to repeat and when this event ends. After setting the schedule for our event, we can add extra details if you prefer. We can set a conferencing application where the event is taking place, especially if the event is being held virtually. It could be through Google Meet or through Zoom with the help of add-ons. Doing so automatically creates a meeting room for us which we can copy and send to the guests that we are inviting for the event. Below the conferencing button, we can also add the location for our event, which is useful for face-to-face events as this can be synced to Google Maps. Underneath these two, we can have the option to have notifications for this event. Is this event something we want to be notified of? If so, when do you want to be notified? One day before the event? A few hours before the event? Or would you like to have multiple notifications at different times of the day? These are the things that we can do through the notification section of our event. We can set it depending on our preferences, and Google will send us a notification through our email regarding this event. Under the Notifications tab, we can also have the option to add this event to different color-coded calendars. As we can see, we can pick whether we would like to put this event under the School tab, or the Organizations tab, or to the different calendars that we have created. Beside that, we can also select the color we want this calendar to be highlighted in to help us further organize our main calendar. Underneath this, we can add a description for the event to help us remind ourselves of the nature or kind of the event we're doing. We can add some notes in here about something that we may forget in the future to further contextualize ourselves when checking our events. The last thing, but probably one of the most important aspects in creating events, is inviting guests so that they can have this event on their own calendars. By inputting our guests' emails on the Add Guest section, we are inviting them to be able to modify our events, for them to be able to invite other people, and other things and options depending on the permissions we set here below. After inputting the details of our event, we shall click the Save button on the upper part of our screen. This will prompt a pop-up menu to appear. It asks whether we would like to send invitation emails to our guests. Basically, if we want to notify our guests regarding our invitations. Clicking Send would prompt Google Calendar to send an email to the guest that we have inputted, while clicking Don't Send will not do so. Now that we have saved our event, we can see it popping up in our main calendar. Clicking this event will allow us to see the basic breakdown of this event. It will also allow us to see if the guests that we have invited have accepted our invitation or not, and it will also allow us to modify or edit our events. Editing our events can be done, once again, by double-clicking the event that we want to edit, bringing us to the previous menu that we have talked about. But before we finish editing our event, let us first hover over and select the More Options button beside the Save button. Through this button, we can print, delete, duplicate, publish, or even pass the ownership of the event to a guest that we have invited. Pressing delete will give us choices whether we want to delete only this event on a specific date or delete all the same events on different days. Afterwards, Google Calendar will also give us the option to notify our guests of our cancellation through an email. Publishing an event allows us to publicize the event by giving us a link that we can copy and send to intended participants. Now let us talk about calendars. Underneath the Minimize Calendar on the left side of our screen, we can see a list of our calendars. On the Other Calendars tab, we can click the plus button for us to be able to create a new calendar. Clicking this button will open up a menu that shall give us different options in adding a calendar. Creating a new calendar allows us to name, describe, and eventually own a personalized and editable calendar. Subscribing to a calendar located above the Create New Calendar button, allows us to subscribe to another person's calendar. If this specific person's calendar is privatized, a pop-up menu will appear telling us that we have no access to the calendar. Here, we can request access to this private calendar. Below the Subscribe and Create calendar, we now select the Browse Calendars from Interest. Just like the previous Subscribe to a New Calendar button, this allows us to add other people's calendar to our own personalized calendar. The only difference is that calendars under this option are normally public events such as holidays, sport events, and others. Finally, Google Calendar also allows us to add calendars through copy and pasting a URL of a calendar. The application also allows us to import and export our own to other calendar applications beside from Google. Now that we have learned the basics of creating a basic calendar, let us click on one of our previously made ones like the school calendar. Clicking the tab will prompt a drop-down menu to appear. Here, we can have the ability to edit and modify our calendars. We can make this available to different people, like the general public, or only to a certain group of people, like your school for example. Clicking the Get Shareable Link button will give us a link to the calendar which we can easily copy and paste wherever and whenever we want to share our calendars. These settings also contain the ability to share our calendars with specific people. Clicking the Add People button will prompt a pop-up menu wherein we can input the emails or the names of the people we want to invite. Below this, we can edit the privileges that these people have. You can give them the ability to make changes to the calendar and be able to share this calendar themselves, or you can even restrict them to view only, meaning that they can edit the calendar but they will have access to it. You may choose the appropriate answer to your given situation. Further down, we can have the ability to add notifications to all events under a specific calendar. Adding a notification here will prompt Google Calendar to send us a notification to every single event under our school calendar. Instead of manually adding notifications to single events, just like what we did earlier, this can help simplify the process of adding notifications. Below these notifications tabs are other notifications that we can utilize that shall further contextualize the way we receive them. The settings also gives us an option to integrate our calendar to different websites aside from Google Calendar. This is helpful as this allows us to view our calendars without manually going to this website. This includes having a public URL to our calendar and having a source code that we can include into our personalized or team websites, especially for shared or synced calendars. Finally, the last option in our settings allows us to delete the selected calendar. Now let us go back to our main interface. Hovering once again over our school calendar and clicking the three dots on its right-hand side will allow us to color code our calendars. And with that, our video comes to a close. I hope these basic tips help you use this application more efficiently. Thanks for watching.